Yehoshua reached out to me and asked if I wanted to collaborate on a video where we play +1-2, Toronto versus Fake London Edition. I obviously said yes, because this is based off of a game that YouTube channels Shifter and NotJustBikes played in previous videos, and I think more of these types of videos are important, kind of like a time capsule to track infrastructure progress throughout cities across the world. So anyways, I said yes, and here we are. Both of us recorded our rides to the nearest hardware stores in our respective cities. Seemingly similar rides to the Home Depot. Then we hucked all the footage onto our computers and played +1-2, Urban Cycling Edition, which you're about to witness. The final thing you need to know is the rules. Whenever there is a moment of bike friendliness that made it either easy to ride or safer to ride, you get 1 point. Whenever something made it difficult or discouraged us from riding or was straight up dangerous, we lose 2 points. So, here goes. Off to a horrible start because we are now on a very wide 50km/h road, and unfortunately people go way faster than that. Just behind me, it turns to 40km/h, which the city is trying to change everywhere in London to 40km/h. I'm definitely for that. At some point, this needs repaving because look at those potholes. Anyways, there are no advanced greens for pedestrians or cyclists. And once you hit here, the lane kind of gets a little bit more narrow in the winter because there is a bunch of snow on the side. Normally, it's a little bit wider. Good news, it goes down to 40km/h here, so even though this is a painted bike gutter, I feel fairly safe. Like, this used to be a wide open road, and this used to be one lane. Like, that is a gargantuan lane. So although these are just painted bike gutters, if people were to actually go 40km/h, this would be pretty nice. So we have a pedestrian crossing here that does light up. There is no bump in the road for pedestrians, unfortunately, but we're talking about cycling infrastructure today. So let's zip along here. Now, this isn't to do with cycling infrastructure itself, but you can see a lot of the vehicles giving me a wide berth, which is kind of nice, and it shows that people can be respectful of cyclists, and it doesn't take much. But we can also see that even though these SUVs raced right past me, they're still just racing to a red light, and now they've been sitting here for this whole time. The bike path is fairly clear, which is nice. Now, there are not markings at this intersection, which is most intersections in London, to be honest, and it can be confusing for cyclists because it's like, wait, is there going to be a bike lane on the other side of this hump? And the answer is yes. So we're approaching Fanshawe College, which should be very pedestrianized and very accessible without vehicles. However, most of Fanshawe is actually dominated by surface parking, which is not great. And yes, that is related to cycling infrastructure. And going back to these SUVs that are giving me so much space, it actually is making them uncomfortable because I am on the road without any protection between me and them. So now we're coming up to a three-way intersection, and this is, it kind of just ends the bike lane. This should be fixed. I don't know why it's not, but it just boop, and then now it comes right back in. That's a very confusing little bit. Maybe it's for the crosswalk, but I'm sure there is a proper way of doing that, and it's not that. Again, zipping along here over to Oxford. So this is one of the major arteries, and it is a 4-lane road. So we have a painted lane here. Again, no protection, and vehicles have to go right over this bike lane in order to turn right, which is sketch. And we're gonna zip up here again, and this is where the lane gets a little bit wider, but nearer to intersections are where you want the added protection. Anyway, as you can see up ahead, there's actually a vehicle in the bike lane. So that guy takes off. I think he was just doing a delivery or something. Now there's a side road or a parking lot. I mean, there's a lot of different spaces to be able to park your vehicle that aren't in this bike lane, but this just needs repainting, because the guy might have not even known, I don't know. Now, I often give drivers the benefit of the doubt, because in this case, it's an unprotected bike lane, and the markings are pretty bad, and it's so wide that it almost looks like it's dedicated parking. So, like, that is a lot of confusion for drivers, and this is why better infrastructure is needed, because you have to accommodate for people just not knowing. If it's a delivery driver, they might not frequent this area. So that sign right there indicates a railway crossing, and we're going to have some fun because You would think that the bike lane would just, I don't know, go over like any other lane. But in reality, we have a problem. Now I have to merge into potential traffic. Right now, I think there's one person behind me here, but the actual smoothness is nice, but the lane just ends. You have to go merge into traffic and then back into your bike lane. That is not something that inexperienced cyclists like kids would want to do, or parents would not be comfortable with that. The idea for these pieces of infrastructure is to make it for all ages and abilities. Anywhere from 8 to 80 is the general rule. And this is not that. This, would you want your 8-year-old biking along this road? If the answer is no, then we need better infrastructure. So for me, this bike lane is nice, but look at this again. So it's kind of a partial lane. It narrows. This is slightly better than the other one, but no, just no. Like it doesn't work and it's not safe. If it was a full road, which it often is. Right now, it's just a nice afternoon that I'm heading over. I had some spare time at lunchtime, so it's not that busy right now. This bike lane was recently added, actually. This used to not be a lane at all, and to be honest, the difference between this bike lane and not having a bike lane is huge. So now we have Dundas, and we're going to cross Dundas, and unlike the other intersection, at least when you get to this side, it's not a narrow bike lane. Again, we're just dealing with non-protected, painted bike lanes here, and for this amount of traffic, it does work. Mostly, kind of. It actually allocates the space to cyclists, and I'm able to sustain like 25, 30 kilometers an hour because of my e-bike, but most people can't, and that should be okay. So having that space allocated to cyclists allows for them to go at their own pace and not be in the way of drivers. Again, like we just want to get from point A to point B. So I'm going to go into the side roads. So as I head along here, I'll just explain to you why I had to take this route and not Dundas. So the other way is a 4-lane stroad that has no cycling infrastructure at all. It has sidewalks on either side, but it is just abysmal. It is such an unenjoyable experience. You have to wear earplugs, essentially. It's a very, very North American stroad. So I overshoot it a bit, heading a bit more south than the actual store is, and I have to travel further, but at least this way I get this nice, quiet road. Now, we're gonna head on to private property, technically. This is a private parking lot, but everyone goes through and uses this little, you can actually see someone right here coming from this little route. This cut through allows for pedestrians and cyclists and other micromobility devices to get through. You can see it's not plowed or anything, but so much traffic goes through here that it kind of plows itself. So here we go, just sneaking through here. Obviously cars can't get through there. And now we continue along our way to the Argyle Mall. So this is Clark Road. We're gonna cross and traffic stops at red lights. That's great, but there's no protected intersection there, even though it's frequently crossed by pedestrians. As you could see, like a lot of pedestrians go to and from using this road. The pavement could use some repaving, but that's what you get when you have an entire strip mall here with huge parking lots to maintain. So I cut through the parking lot, so does this truck here. The difference is that the truck can murder an entire family in one fell swoop, and I cannot. I would just hurt myself. Sneaking through the parking lots is pretty much the safest way for me to get to this location. As you can tell, though, I am now headed north. So I overshot using that side road. Now I'm headed back across Dundas because I wanted to do those few kilometers east safely and quietly and not have to wear earplugs or worry about right turners cutting me off and running into me. So now we get to cross Dundas yet again. You know what they need here? They need more trees. It looks like they actually have planted more trees. I guess they just need to plant more trees. Especially right here at the intersection, they could have so many more trees. This is actually the first time I've asked someone where the bike rack is, and I've been to this store hundreds of times, and I've always just like locked my bike up to random things. But this time I'm like, okay, you know what? For a video, I'm gonna figure out where this bike rack is. Do you happen to know where the bike racks are?
Bike rack? Yeah, the bike rack here is just around the corner on the other side of the vestibule there up against the wall.
Oh, right over there? Okay.
Yep.
Cool, thank you so much. Okay, thanks. So I'm just hunting around right now, looking around, and I'm like, I don't know where this bike rack is. And then, oh, I see it. And here it is. So it's up against the wall and there are carts in the way, but I'm able to move things around. Thanks for the respect, Home Depot. And even though I was about to park it, I'm like, hold up, this is, you cannot park bikes properly with the rack this close to the wall. That is not how bike racks work. But I never lock my front wheel in anyways, and these bike racks are kind of trashed for that. So I actually lock my frame. I'm going to take one of the side posts here and lock it this way. While I get my U-lock out, let me quickly explain why I only use a U-lock. I actually use pinhead locks on my front wheel, my seat post, and on my stem. I would love to use it on the back wheel. I still have to figure that out. So these skewer and bolt locks allow for me to just lock once with one hefty duty lock, but not have to worry about locking my front wheel or my seat post or losing my stem, as in the handlebars, while I'm inside somewhere. So really, I encourage everyone to get pinheads. There are similar types of locks that you can get for all of these removable parts on your bike, but pinhead is pretty good. Now that we've done my bike ride in London, Ontario, let's head on over and audit Yehoshua's bike ride in Toronto. The first thing I'm going to do is comment on your bike. I like it. Oh, here we have a protected bike lane. So this is technically an in-boulevard facility. That's what cities in North America call this. And it means that there is a curb separating. Like a driver just can't accidentally run onto this in-boulevard cycling facility. So even though we're going along a stroad, it's technically safe. This is not like other crosswalks. Here's why. Elephants' feet and crosswalks are new. Today, crosswalks that cyclists are allowed to ride across may also be marked with elephant's feet, a line of squares on the outside of each solid line that forms the crosswalk. Now we're approaching a bus stop. And this is something I really don't like, because when there are people waiting for the bus here, you have to carefully navigate through a crowd of people on a bicycle. That's not a nice experience for anyone, including and especially those waiting for the bus. We're gonna just wait here for the really long light signals. That guy on the scooter just ignored the red light, and it's tough because these lights are so car-centric and the signals are so long that it's kind of like, I don't blame him. All right, so this is still pretty good. So far, there have been no disconnects. Again, nice bright green markings, pretty good. Let's skip along here.
Just a reminder to my future self, -2 here because they're blocking the bike lane. But they're already taking up enough room on the road to block the road so it wouldn't make a difference if they just parked on the road and let the cyclist through. Yeah.
I happen to agree. It's not on this side, but yeah, like, why can't they just move over? Yeah, like, if they already are making a driving lane impassable, use up the full lane. Don't just not do that. It's weird that they would make it inaccessible to cyclists, but also not accessible to vehicles. Like, just go all the way one way. Aha! This is exactly what I meant. Look at this bus stop up here. Yeah, you now have to awkwardly navigate, and suddenly you're the bad guy because of bad infrastructure. No, that is purely bad infrastructure. That happens in London as well. But here's an example of the bike lane being used and the guy that was a pedestrian having to use the crosswalk. That's why you have two separate things, and that's why sidewalks are not bike lanes. And everyone in my videos saying, hey, get on the sidewalk, get off the road. No, this is what a bike lane is for. So far, this is pretty good. I feel like that's one of those roll curbs where now if a car were to accelerate into the bike lane, it's no longer protected because it's one of those like gradual curbs, which I don't get why that's a gradual curb here. That should not be the case. Actually, -2 points for that. It was protected and now it isn't. I might be wrong here. Maybe I'm not seeing it correctly, but that does not look like it would stop a vehicle. But we can't hurt the car's tires. No, it's a highway. You're not going off to the side anyway. Continuing again. when it comes to buses stopping here, people getting out can just happen to run right into you. So you have to be very careful when you're riding a bike next to a bus in these lanes, because pedestrians coming out of the bus just jump right into the lane, because pedestrians jumping out of the bus jump right into the bike lane, which is not great. There's a nice green turn for you if you were coming from another way. That's kind of nice. Wow, that is a lot of markings. Kind of looks janky, but I guess it's good that it's confusing, because drivers will have to pay attention when making turns. Yep, all these intersections looks pretty standard. Okay, they all look standard up until here. Oh, that guy's just doing a UE, okay. So he's gonna hit the bag button one more time. Yeah, the elephant feet work wonders. It makes an intersection both for pedestrians and cyclists. And if I'm looking at this correctly, cyclists should go on the exterior and pedestrians would go in the middle. Okay, looks like he's making a left turn. Again, hitting the bag button. Ooh, there's a pedestrian refuge. Okay, here we go. So in this case, we're going all the way across. But if you were slow as a pedestrian, maybe with a walker or with a disability, then you would be able to go ahead and seek refuge. Now, he's chosen to go on the sidewalk. And to be honest, I think I would too, because I think I see a bike gutter over on the main road, but I wouldn't. Like, look at those transport trucks and fast moving vehicles. There is no physical separation between a vulnerable cyclist taking that bike gutter and cars and trucks and vehicles going really, really fast. And now we're running into a pedestrian, and this is exactly the problem. So that woman was on the phone, I think, and she didn't have to move over. It's a sidewalk for a reason, but we're being forced to use sidewalks as infrastructure for biking, because that is not proper infrastructure. And then people complain that people on bikes don't use the bike lanes. It's like, yeah, how about you make better bike lanes compared to, like, what on earth? Let's see, is he going to choose the sidewalk or this painted bike gutter? Oh, look, the sidewalk, with a bunch of crud in it too. And it's like, this is why people don't use those bike lanes, because they're crud. Actually, look at this. It went from road to now, congratulations, this is a bike lane. Really badly maintained, but at least now you're not on the road sharing a highway with a bicycle. Oh, actually, I guess I would have gone on the other way. I mean, I would have actually gone on the other one, because this is technically a sidewalk and the other one is a bike lane. Unfortunately, there are pedestrians that hold up. I think I know the reason that he's on the sidewalk, because you knew that coming up, the bike lane was just going to end at that intersection back there. Actually, I can't even tell if that is a bike lane or turn lane. Okay, I think it is. Now that we're on the other side of the intersection, I think it is a bike lane, but it says bike lane ends right there, just in big, bold letters. Oh my God, there's so much going on. Just, wow. Take some points off that. So now you're kind of forced into sharing the sidewalk with pedestrians because of the horrible infrastructure. I'm so confused. Like, I do not know what is happening. I don't know if that's a bike lane over there or if that's a turn lane. No wonder, like, drivers are probably confused. Cyclists are confused. And the pedestrians are probably like, get off the sidewalk because this is for me. And meanwhile, do you see a bike lane? Because I don't. Navigating through pedestrians yet again, because I don't think I would feel safe on that bike lane, if that is even a bike lane over there near the road, the bike gutter. But the good news is it does look like we have arrived at the Home Depot. So now you have a huge parking lot, like redonkulously huge, just like the one over in London. But this is excessively large. Like, this looks like an absolute desert. So gonna take off some more points here, just for the fact that it's so wide. There's parking in front of the stores there. They can't walk 4 feet across the road. Like, this is an absolute desert of parking. I'm also not seeing many bike racks, if any at all. I'm trying to keep an eye out here, but I'm just gobsmacked as to how much parking there is. Wow. So if we were to look at this whole parking lot and where, like, he's maneuvering right now, wow, It's just a sea of paved paradise. You can see a bike locked around a signpost because I don't see any bike racks around. I don't know if I've said it enough across all my videos, but if you design a space like this to be auto-centric, car-centric, truck-centric, and not accessible by bike, as in look at all of the parking for cars, and there is nothing at all for cyclists, including this guy just speeding past because, oh, I need to get to parking faster. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, there's just signposts for cyclists, and yet there's literally thousands and thousands of parking spots. Like, this is ridiculous. And these intersections are huge to accommodate trucks, but you don't need... I have literally driven 18-wheelers. I had my professional truck driver's license. I know how to drive those things, and I have driven those 18-wheelers. Like, you don't need that much space, unless you have double articulating units. All right, so we have now arrived at the Home Depot. I'm not seeing obvious bike parking here. He's looking around. I forgot to ask if he's actually been here before. Does not look like it. So we both had issues. That's interesting. We both were like, where, in my case, I was like, I've heard that it's over here, so I had to ask. All right, so the benefit is it's actually bolted into the ground and it's away from the wall. Wow, I'm impressed. I'm genuinely impressed. I like that bike rack. I agree, thumbs up. I approve of that bike rack. And it is near the entrance, so that's pretty good. Let's see your locking style. All right, so he's using a kryptonite lock, pretty good. I like your basket setup too. You got a pannier there and you have a basket. You have so much room on the back of your bike. I fully approve. That is a utility cyclist's dream bike. Well, there you have it. If you've made it this far into the video, to the end, you're officially part of the Made It to the End crew, aka, I don't know, MIDI crew. And for that, I would love to hear your comments on this video. Like, what are your thoughts? I realize that this is a very long video and is not really what I normally do, but I think it's important to document because it's almost like a time capsule of cities' infrastructure progress. And of course, after all of that, make sure you like the video, please. Check out the rest of my videos and subscribe for more if you like my channel's vibes.